The great crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber stretched high above the assembled delegates. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy sat in perfect circles, their varied forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. Some floated in gas-filled bubbles. Others perched on specially designed platforms, and a few existed as pure energy contained in glowing orbs. Captain Yuna stepped forward to the center speaking platform. Her blue skin shimmered under the domes, lights as she activated the holographic display. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared above her head, spinning slowly. One small section glowed bright red. "Honored council members," Yuna began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation systems. "For 230 years, this region of space has remained completely closed to all galactic civilization. We call it human space." Murmurs rippled through the assembled delegates. The red sphere on the map showed a perfect circle around what the humans called the Sol system. It covered 50 light-years in all directions. "No ship that enters this space ever returns," Yuna continued. "No signals come out. No trade, no communication, no contact of any kind. The humans exist in complete isolation." Jiho, the tall, gray-skinned representative from the Vraxian Empire, stood up. His 6 arms gestured dramatically as he spoke. "This is exactly why we must act now. Any species that can hide so completely must be planning something terrible. They are obviously building weapons to destroy us all." Several delegates nodded, in agreement. The Vraxians had always been suspicious of other species, especially ones they could not understand. But Minho, a small floating creature from the peaceful Etherian collective, disagreed. His voice was soft and musical. "We should not assume the worst. Perhaps the humans simply wish to be left alone. Many species choose isolation for cultural or religious reasons." "Then why do ships disappear?" Jiho shot back. "If they want peace, they should say so. Instead, they destroy anyone who tries to visit them." Admiral Sujin, from the powerful Corvani Empire, rose from her seat. She was tall and elegant, with silver skin and 4 eyes that could see across many spectrums of light. "The Vraxian speaks truth in this matter. 3 months ago, we sent our most advanced stealth ship to observe the human border. It was completely invisible to all known detection methods." She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. "The ship vanished the moment it crossed into human territory. Not destroyed, vanished. Our quantum trackers lost all signal instantly. It was as if the ship simply stopped existing." This news caused more worried murmurs throughout the chamber. The Corvani had the best stealth technology in the galaxy. If their ships could not even observe the humans safely, what did that mean for everyone else? Yuna brought up more data on her holographic display. "In the past 50 years, 17 different species have sent expeditions into human space. Military ships, science vessels, even simple trading craft. The result is always the same: complete disappearance." "What do we know about human technology?" asked Dayun, the chief scientist of the Nexus Research Collective. Her tentacles moved in complex patterns as she accessed her data implants. "Very little," Yuna admitted. "Long-range scans from outside their territory show primitive chemical rockets and basic fusion reactors. Their largest ships appear to be simple metal constructions with no advanced materials or energy shields." "That makes no sense," Sujin said, all 4 of her eyes focusing intently on the display. "How can such primitive technology stop our most advanced ships?" "Maybe their technology is not primitive," suggested Wu Jin, an ancient being whose species had been part of the council for over 10,000 years. Maybe it is so advanced that we cannot recognize it. The chamber fell silent as the delegates considered this possibility. Advanced civilizations sometimes developed technology that looked simple to less developed species, but humans had only achieved spaceflight a few hundred years ago. How could they have advanced so quickly? There is another possibility, said Unji, the military strategist from the Coalition of Free Worlds. Her mechanical voice came from speakers built into her robotic body. Perhaps the disappearances are not caused by human technology at all. What do you mean? Minho asked, his glowing form pulsing with curiosity. Space is vast and full of mysteries. Maybe there is something else in that region, an ancient weapon, a natural phenomenon, or some unknown force that even the humans cannot control. Yuna nodded thoughtfully. Our scientists have considered this. But if that were true, why do the humans not warn other species away? Why do they remain completely silent? Because they are planning to use whatever it is against us, Jiho declared. They have found some terrible weapon and are preparing to conquer the galaxy, or because they are trying to protect us from it, Minho countered. Maybe they stay silent to keep others safe. The debate continued for hours. Some delegates called for immediate military action against the mysterious humans. Others wanted to try peaceful communication first. A few suggested leaving the humans alone entirely. Finally, the council speaker, an ancient energy being known only as the First, called for order. Its voice was like the sound of distant stars, beautiful and terrible at the same time. The council has heard all arguments. We must make a decision. The human mystery has continued too long. We need answers. The speaker's form brightened as it continued. We will send a joint expedition with representatives from multiple species. They will attempt to enter human space and discover the truth about these mysterious beings. Who will lead such a dangerous mission? Asked Admiral Sujin. The speaker's attention turned to a quiet section of the chamber where the science delegates sat. Taehyun of the Altarian Survey Corps has the most experience with first contact situations. He has successfully made peaceful contact with 14 different species. Taehyun stood up slowly. He was tall and thin, with pale green skin and large, dark eyes that showed both intelligence and kindness. I accept this mission, honored speaker, but I request a mixed crew of scientists, diplomats, and security personnel. If the humans are truly dangerous, we need to be prepared. If they are peaceful, we need to show them we come in peace. Granted, the speaker replied. You may choose your crew from volunteers. The council will provide the most advanced ship in our fleet. As the great chamber began to empty, delegates returning to their homeworlds to report on the day's decisions, Taehyun remained behind. He stared up at the holographic map still floating above the speaking platform. The red sphere of human space seemed to pulse with mysterious energy. Somewhere in that forbidden zone lived an entire species that had managed to isolate themselves from the rest of the galaxy. Were they planning war? Were they hiding from some terrible threat? Or was there something else entirely? Something that none of the council's brilliant minds had even considered? Taehyun knew that in a few short weeks he would have his answers. He only hoped he would survive to share them with the galaxy. The massive exploration ship Concordia hung motionless at the edge of human space. It was the most advanced vessel the Galactic Council had ever built, combining technology from dozens of different species. Its hull gleamed with energy-absorbing materials, while invisible force fields protected it from radiation and debris. Tae-hyun stood on the bridge, watching the view screen show nothing but empty space ahead. According to their instruments, they were exactly at the boundary of the mysterious human territory. But there was nothing to see. No warning beacons, no defensive stations, no patrol ships. Just the normal darkness of space filled with distant stars. "All stations report ready, Commander," said Hyejin from the engineering station. She was a brilliant technician from the Corvani Empire, her silver skin reflecting the bridge lights, as her 4 eyes monitored dozens of different systems at once. "Shields at maximum, stealth mode activated, all sensors online." Wanbin looked up from the tactical station, his warrior instincts on high alert. The muscular Draxian had fought in 3 different galactic conflicts and had never met an enemy he could not understand. But this situation made him nervous. Long-range scans show no immediate threats, no energy signatures, no artificial structures, no signs of advanced technology. "What about the humans themselves?" Tae-hyun asked. Nari adjusted her communication equipment, her tentacles moving quickly over the complex controls. As the expedition's communication specialist, she could detect and translate signals across thousands of different frequencies and formats. "I am picking up human transmissions from deeper in their territory. Radio waves, basic quantum communications, some kind of computer networks. Nothing more advanced than what most species use in their early space age." Tae-hyun frowned. This did not match what they expected to find. How could such primitive technology make 17 different expeditions disappear without a trace? "Commander," Hyejin called out, "I am detecting something strange. Our quantum entanglement communicators with the Council fleet are working perfectly right now. But the moment we cross that invisible boundary line, I predict we will lose contact." "How can you know that?" Wanbin asked. "Because I have been studying the sensor logs from all the previous expeditions. Every single one lost communication at exactly the same distance from the human star system, 50 light-years. It is too precise to be coincidence." Tae-hyun considered this information. What could cause such an effect? "Unknown," Hyejin admitted. "It is not any technology in our databases. The effect appears to be natural, like a law of physics that only applies in this region of space." Nari's equipment suddenly came alive with new signals. "Commander, I am detecting something. The humans know we are here." "How is that possible?" Wanbin demanded. "We are using full stealth mode. Even our own ships could not detect us at this range." "I do not know," Nari said, her voice confused. "But I am receiving a transmission directed specifically at us. It is in perfect galactic standard language." The main view screen activated, showing a simple audio waveform. A calm human voice filled the bridge. "Greetings, explorers from the Galactic Council. This is Commander Do-won of the Terran Defense Corps. We welcome you to the edge of our space. Please know that you are not in any danger, but we must ask you to wait while we prepare proper reception protocols." The crew exchanged surprised looks. The humans not only knew they were there, but they knew exactly who they were and where they came from. "Should I respond?" Nari asked. "Yes," Tae-hyun decided. "Tell them we come in peace and wish to establish communication between our peoples." Nari transmitted the message, and the reply came back almost instantly. "We understand your peaceful intentions, Commander Tae-hyun. Yes, we know who you are. We have been monitoring Galactic Council communications for many years. We are sending a small ship to meet with you. Please do not be alarmed by what you see." What could they mean by that? Wanbin wondered aloud. Their question was answered 20 minutes later when a human ship appeared on their sensors. Hyejin gasped when she saw the readings. "Commander, that vessel is primitive beyond belief. It is using chemical rockets for propulsion. The hull appears to be simple metal alloys with no energy shielding at all. It has no weapons that I can detect, and life support that looks like it was designed centuries ago." The human ship looked exactly like something from a museum. It was a basic cylinder with rocket engines at the back and small windows along the sides. Compared to the Concordia's advanced design, it looked like a toy. "How did they get here so fast?" Wanbin asked. "Our sensors showed no ships in this area 20 minutes ago." "Maybe they were hiding somehow," Nari suggested. "Behind what?" Hyejin pointed at her displays. "There is nothing out here but empty space." The human ship moved closer, its primitive engines leaving a trail of bright exhaust that any child could see from light years away. It was the opposite of stealth technology. "Incoming transmission from the human vessel," Nari announced. A new voice came through their speakers, this one belonging to a human female. "Greetings, Concordia. This is Captain Minji of the diplomatic vessel Peace Branch. We request permission to come aboard and speak with your commander." Taehyun looked around at his crew. This was the moment they had all been preparing for. First, contact with the mysterious humans who had isolated themselves from the galaxy for over 2 centuries. "Permission granted," he replied. "We will extend our docking tube to match your airlock." "That will not be necessary," Captain Minji responded. "We will use our own method." Before anyone could ask what she meant, something impossible happened. The human ship simply appeared inside the Concordia's shuttle bay. One moment the bay was empty. The next moment, a primitive human vessel was sitting there as if it had always been there. "How did they do that?" Hyejin whispered, staring at her instruments in shock. "No energy signature, no matter transport, no dimensional shift. They just moved from outside to inside without crossing the space in between." Wanbin was already reaching for his weapons. "That is impossible with any known technology." "Maybe it is not technology," Taehyun said quietly, remembering the ancient Wu Jin's words from the council chamber. "Maybe it is something else entirely." Nari was monitoring the human ship's communications. "Commander, they are requesting a face-to-face meeting in Conference Room 3. Captain Minji says she has much to explain about why human space has remained closed and why it was necessary for the protection of all galactic civilization." "Protection?" Wanbin repeated. "Protection from what?" "I think," Taehyun said slowly, "we are about to find out." As he prepared to meet the first humans any galactic citizen had seen in over 200 years, Taehyun could not shake the feeling that everything they thought they knew about space, technology, and the universe itself was about to change forever. The humans had been silent for centuries. Now finally, they were ready to explain why. Commander Doan stood in the observation deck of Mars Station Alpha, watching the distant stars through the massive transparent walls. His dark eyes showed no fear, only the calm focus of someone who had prepared for this moment his entire life. Behind him, the control room buzzed with quiet activity as his crew managed the first alien contact in human history. "Sir," called Seoyeon from her position at the sensor array. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panels as data flowed across multiple screens. "The alien vessel has stopped exactly at the boundary, just as predicted. Their ship is impressive. Definitely the most advanced we have seen in our long-range observations." Dowan nodded slowly. For decades, humans had been watching the galaxy beyond their protected space. They knew about the great empires, the trading networks, and the complex politics of galactic civilization. They had studied alien languages, learned about different cultures, and prepared for the day when contact would finally come. "Any signs that they detected our monitoring?" he asked. "None at all," Seoyan replied. "Their stealth technology is excellent by galactic standards, but they have no idea we can see them perfectly. Should I activate Protocol 7? "Yes," Doan said without hesitation. "Send the wake-up signal to Dr. Hanul and notify all department heads. The time has come." Throughout human space, a subtle change began to occur. On research stations orbiting Jupiter, scientists stopped their experiments and turned their attention to specially prepared first contact procedures. On Earth, government leaders received priority messages that simply read, "Contact initiated." On the lunar colonies, military units moved into position not to fight, but to protect something far more precious than weapons. Deep within the ice of Europa, Dr. Hanul's cryogenic pod began its wake-up sequence. She had been in suspended animation for 3 months, keeping her mind fresh and alert for this exact moment. As the cold fog cleared from the pod's viewing window, her eyes opened to see Jinwoo's familiar face smiling down at her. "Good morning, Doctor," Jinwoo said, helping her sit up as the pod's systems finished their revival cycle. "Our visitors have arrived right on schedule." Dr. Hanul stretched her muscles and accepted the warm drink Jinwoo offered her. As humanity's leading expert on xenobiology and first contact protocols, she had spent 20 years preparing for this day. "How many ships?" "Just one, but it is quite large. Mixed crew from multiple species, led by someone called Tae-hyun. Our linguistic analysis suggests he has a good reputation for peaceful contact procedures." "Excellent." Dr. Hanul stood up and moved to the nearby computer terminal. Information flowed across the screen as she reviewed everything they knew about their visitors. "Has the boundary effect activated yet?" The moment they crossed the 50 light-year marker, Jinwoo confirmed. "Their quantum communications with the outside galaxy have been safely isolated. They can still talk to each other, but nothing gets in or out without our permission." Dr. Hanul smiled. This was exactly how it was supposed to work. The boundary was not a weapon or a shield. It was a filter. It allowed humans to control what information flowed between their space and the rest of the galaxy. "Have you prepared the diplomatic vessel?" she asked. "Minji and Kyungho are ready to launch. They have reviewed all the contact protocols and understand what they can and cannot reveal during this first meeting." On the other side of the Sol system, Captain Minji was making final preparations aboard the small ship Peace Branch. To any outside observer, it looked like a primitive vessel from humanity's early space age. Simple metal construction, chemical rockets, basic life support systems. But appearances could be very deceiving. "All systems ready," reported her co-pilot Kyung-ho as he checked their instruments. Unlike the advanced displays found on galactic ships, their controls looked almost ancient. Physical switches, simple screens, and manual controls that seemed to belong in a museum. "Remember," Minji said as she activated their engines, "we must be very careful about what we show them. Too much too fast could cause panic across the entire galaxy." "Understood," Kyung-ho replied. "The standard first contact script?" "Yes, but be ready to improvise. These aliens are intelligent and curious. They will ask difficult questions." The Peace Branch launched from its hidden dock inside an asteroid near Mars. To the watching aliens, it would appear that the ship had simply come from deeper in human space using conventional rocket propulsion. They would never suspect that it had actually traveled from the outer system to their location in a matter of minutes. As they approached the alien vessel, Minji could see it clearly through their viewport. It was indeed impressive, sleek, powerful, and obviously built by a civilization that had mastered advanced engineering. She felt a moment of sadness, knowing that the aliens probably thought humans were primitive beings with limited technology. If only they knew the truth. Initiating contact, Kyung-ho said, activating their communication systems. Greetings, Concordia. This is Captain Minji of the diplomatic vessel Peace Branch. We request permission to come aboard and speak with your commander. The alien response came quickly, granting permission and offering to extend a docking tube. Minji smiled at Kyung-ho. Even now, the aliens assumed humans needed conventional technology to transfer between ships. That will not be necessary, she replied. We will use our own method. She closed her eyes and thought carefully about where she wanted to be. In her mind, she pictured the shuttle bay of the alien ship, visualized the space inside it, and gently requested that reality cooperate with her intentions. The universe listened. One moment, the Peace Branch was floating in open space next to the Concordia. The next moment, it was sitting safely in the alien ship's shuttle bay, as if it had always been there. Translation complete, Kyung-ho said, checking his instruments. No damage to either vessel, no energy signatures detected by their sensors. Good, Minji replied, preparing to meet the aliens face to face. Now comes the hard part, explaining why humanity has remained hidden for so long without revealing exactly what we have become. As they prepared to disembark, both humans felt the weight of responsibility on their shoulders. They were about to represent their entire species to beings who had traveled across the galaxy to find them. What they said and did in the next few hours would determine whether humanity remained peacefully isolated or became involved in the complex politics of galactic civilization. More importantly, they had to find a way to explain the truth about human space without causing panic among the aliens, because the reality was far stranger and more wonderful than anyone in the galaxy could possibly imagine. The humans had not developed advanced technology to protect their space. Instead, they had developed something far more remarkable, a relationship with space itself. The Lunar Research Institute sat on the bright side of Earth's moon, its white domes and crystal spires reaching toward the star-filled sky. This was where humanity first achieved consciousness-assisted faster-than-light travel, and where Dr. Soo-hyun continued to study the remarkable changes that had occurred to human beings over the past 2 centuries. Tae-hyun walked through the Institute's corridors beside Dr. Soo-hyun, still trying to process everything he had seen since entering human space. The building itself seemed to shift and change as they moved through it. Walls became transparent when they needed to see outside, floors adjusted their texture for perfect comfort, and the temperature remained ideal without any visible climate control systems. I understand this is difficult to accept, Dr. Soo-hyun said kindly. She was a small woman with bright eyes that seemed to sparkle with intelligence and wonder. When we first realized what had happened to us, many humans refused to believe it. As well. How did it begin? Tae-hyun asked, watching as a section of wall transformed into a window simply because he had wondered what was outside. With curiosity and accident, like most great discoveries, Dr. Soo-hyun replied, leading him into a large laboratory filled with strange equipment. In 2157, our scientists were trying to develop faster-than-light travel, Every other species in the galaxy used mechanical methods. Engines that bent space, gates that opened dimensional tunnels, machines that manipulated quantum fields. She gestured to a simple chair sitting in the center of the room, surrounded by monitoring equipment that looked primitive compared to galactic standards. We tried all those methods and failed. Human engineering was not advanced enough, so we decided to try something different. We asked human consciousness to participate directly in the process. How does that work? Hyejin asked from behind them. The alien engineer had been taking detailed scans of everything they encountered, but her instruments consistently showed results that made no scientific sense. Sit in the chair, Dr. Suyun suggested to Taehyun. I will show you. Taehyun settled into the surprisingly comfortable seat while Dr. Suyun activated the surrounding equipment. Immediately, he felt a strange tingling sensation, as if every atom in his body was suddenly aware of every other atom in the universe. What you are feeling, Dr. Suyun explained, is quantum entanglement at the consciousness level. Human neural patterns naturally resonate with quantum fields in ways we still do not fully understand. When we tried to achieve FTL travel, instead of building a machine to move our ships, we taught humans to convince space itself to cooperate. That should be impossible, Hyejin protested, studying her instruments with growing confusion. Consciousness is a macro-scale phenomenon. It cannot directly interact with quantum mechanics. That is what we thought, Dr. Soo-hyun agreed. But we were wrong. Human consciousness exists partially in quantum space. It is why we dream, why we have intuition, why we can sometimes know things we have never learned. We just never realized we could use that connection actively. She turned to another control panel, and suddenly Taehyun felt something incredible. His awareness seemed to expand beyond his body, touching the walls of the laboratory, feeling the structure of the lunar rock beneath them, sensing the vast emptiness of space beyond the moon's surface. Now, Dr. Suyun said softly, think about being on Earth. Taehyun pictured the blue-green planet he had seen from space. He imagined standing on its surface, feeling grass beneath his feet, breathing fresh air, seeing the sky above, and suddenly, he was there. Still sitting in the chair, but somehow also standing in a beautiful meadow on Earth's surface. He could feel both locations simultaneously, his body in the lunar laboratory and his consciousness experiencing the warmth of sunlight and the sound of birds singing. How is this possible? He whispered. Because within human space, reality responds to consciousness, Dr. Soo-hyun explained. The quantum fields that make up space and time have become entangled with human thought patterns. When a human strongly desires to be somewhere or experience something, local space-time adjusts to make it happen. She helped Taehyun out of the chair, and immediately his consciousness snapped back to a single location on the moon. The effect is stronger when humans work together. A single person can create small changes, flowers growing from walls, perfect, room temperature, minor alterations to local physics. But when multiple humans focus on the same thing, the laboratory around them suddenly vanished, replaced by a vast cathedral made of crystal and light. The ceiling stretched impossibly high, supported by pillars that seemed to be made of crystallized music. Beautiful patterns of color flowed through the transparent walls like liquid rainbows. "Welcome to the Memorial Cathedral," said a new voice. Taehyun turned to see Jinwoo approaching them across the crystal floor. This structure was created by 10,000 humans thinking together about the perfect place to remember those we have lost. It exists in 7 dimensions simultaneously and can hold the entire population of Luna if necessary. 7 dimensions? Wanbin asked, his warrior's mind struggling to comprehend what he was seeing. 3 spatial, 1 temporal, and 3 quantum. Dimensions that do not normally interact with normal matter, Jinwoo explained. Human consciousness can perceive and manipulate all 7, which is why we can create structures like this that are impossible according to conventional physics. Hyojin was frantically scanning the cathedral with every instrument she possessed. The energy requirements for this should be enormous. Where is the power coming from? The universe itself, Dr. Soo-hyun replied. When consciousness and quantum fields work together instead of fighting each other, energy becomes freely available. We are not violating the laws of physics. We are using laws that other species never discovered because they never learned to merge consciousness with reality. This is why the missing ships could not return, Taehyun realized. Their crews do not have this quantum consciousness connection. Exactly, Jinwoo confirmed. Non-human consciousness does not register properly in human entangled space. The local quantum fields treat alien visitors like foreign objects in a biological system. They are isolated and contained for safety, but not harmed. Show us, Wanbin requested. Show us where the missing expeditions went. Dr. Soo-hyun nodded and concentrated for a moment. The crystal cathedral around them became transparent, revealing another space existing in the same location, but slightly out of phase with normal reality. Taehyun gasped as he saw dozens of alien ships floating in a peaceful pocket dimension, their crews apparently continuing their explorations without realizing they were no longer in normal space. They think they are still traveling through the galaxy, Jinwoo explained. Their instruments show normal space, normal stars, normal physics. They are completely safe and comfortable, but they exist in a parallel dimension created by human subconscious thought. Can they be returned? Taehyun asked. Of course, Dr. Soo-hyun said. But first, we need to prepare the galaxy for what they will report when they return. The truth about human space will change everything about how galactic civilization understands consciousness, reality, and the fundamental nature of existence itself. She looked seriously at the 3 aliens. Are your people ready to learn that consciousness is not just a side effect of complex brains, but a fundamental force of the universe as real and powerful as gravity or electromagnetism? Taehyun thought about the Galactic Council with its complex politics and diverse species. Some would embrace this knowledge, others would fear it. A few might try to weaponize it. I do not know, he admitted honestly. But they deserve to know the truth, and we will help you share it with them safely. Good, Dr. Soo-hyun smiled, because tomorrow we will show you something even more remarkable. What happens when an entire species learns to dream together? The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in the organization's 10,000-year history. Representatives from every major species had gathered in the Great Crystal Dome, their forms creating a sea of different shapes, colors, and energy patterns. The air itself seemed to vibrate with tension and fear. Admiral Soo-jin stood at the central speaking platform, her 4 eyes reflecting the emergency lighting that bathed the chamber in harsh red tones. The expedition to human space has been missing for 72 hours. Their last transmission was a simple message that they were beginning first contact procedures, just like all the others, Jiho declared from his position among the Vraxian delegation. His 6 arms gestured dramatically as he spoke. How many more ships must we lose before we accept that the humans are our enemies? We do not know that. They are enemies, Minho protested, his glowing form pulsing with agitation. Commander Tae-hyun is the most experienced diplomat in the galaxy. If anyone could make peaceful contact, it would be him. Then where is he? Admiral Sujin demanded. Where is his ship? Where is his crew? Throughout the galaxy, military fleets were already moving. The Corvani Empire had mobilized 3 battle groups and positioned them just outside human space. The Vraxian war fleets were preparing for what Jiho called the final solution to the human problem. Even peaceful species like the Etherian Collective were readying their defenses. Honored council members called out Dayun from the science section. Before we declare war on a species we have never met, perhaps we should consider other possibilities. Such as? Admiral Sujin asked impatiently. The humans may have developed technology so advanced that we cannot recognize it. Perhaps they are not hostile, but are instead protecting us from something we do not understand. Protecting us by making our ships disappear? Jiho scoffed. By refusing all communication for over 2 centuries? Deep within human space, aboard the Earth Orbital Station New Geneva, President Chae-young was holding an emergency meeting of the Terran Assembly. The vast chamber was filled with representatives from every human world and colony, their faces showing concern but not panic. The galactic situation is escalating rapidly, reported Commander Doan via holographic link from Mars Station. Long-range monitoring shows massive fleet movements throughout the galaxy. Multiple species are preparing for war. How much time do we have? Asked Assembly Speaker Heron, an elderly woman whose calm demeanor helped keep the discussion focused. Perhaps days, possibly hours, Doan replied. The Corvani Empire appears to be planning an immediate attack. Their fleet commanders are arguing for a preemptive strike before we can deploy whatever weapons they think we possess. And our guests? President Chae-young asked. Commander Tae-hyun and his crew are still adjusting to the revelations about human consciousness. Dr. Hanul believes they will need at least another week to fully understand the implications before they can properly explain it to their people. We may not have another week, observed Defense Minister Ki-boom. If the galactic fleets attack, they will discover the truth about human space in the most dramatic way possible, which could cause panic throughout the galaxy, added Science Director Ye-jin. Imagine how they will react when their weapons simply refuse to function in our space, or when their ships find themselves gently turned around by the universe itself. President Chae-young stood and walked to the great window that showed Earth spinning peacefully below. We always knew this day would come. The question is whether we reveal our true nature gradually through diplomacy or suddenly through conflict. There is a third option, suggested Dr. Hanul's voice from the Lunar Research Institute. A controlled demonstration that shows the galaxy exactly what human space has become, but in a way that proves we are not a threat. What kind of demonstration? Commander Doan asked. The kind that makes war impossible, Dr. Hanul replied. If we can show them that human consciousness is entangled with reality itself, they will understand that traditional weapons and tactics are meaningless here. But we need to do it in a way that amazes rather than terrifies them. Aboard the Concordia, still floating safely within human space, Tae-hyun was struggling to compose a report for the Galactic Council. How could he explain that humans had evolved beyond conventional life forms without causing mass panic? Commander, Nari called from her communication station. I am detecting massive quantum disturbances throughout the galaxy. It appears that multiple fleets are approaching human space from different directions. How many ships? Wanbin asked, his tactical instincts automatically activated. Thousands. Nari replied grimly. Every major military force in the galaxy appears to be converging on this location. Hyejin looked up from her engineering station with worry in all four of her eyes. Commander, with that many ships using quantum drives simultaneously, the space-time distortions could be visible from here. As if summoned by her words, Minji and Kyung-ho entered the bridge. The two humans looked calm despite the approaching crisis. We know about the fleets, Minji said simply. Human space is automatically monitoring all quantum disturbances within 100 light years. We can see every ship, every weapon, every communication signal. Then you know you are about to be attacked by the combined forces of galactic civilization, Wanbin stated. Yes, Kyung-ho replied peacefully, which gives us an opportunity to demonstrate why human space has remained isolated and why it will continue to remain peaceful regardless of outside intentions. You cannot fight thousands of advanced warships with primitive technology, Taehyun protested. You are right, Minji agreed. We cannot fight them, but we do not need to fight them. Watch. She closed her eyes and appeared to concentrate. On the bridge's main view screen, an image appeared showing the approaching galactic fleets. Hundreds of massive warships were moving in perfect formation toward human space, their weapons charged and shields raised for battle. Then, something impossible happened. The stars themselves began to move. What are they doing? Hyejin whispered, staring at her instruments in shock. Rearranging local space to make a point, Kyung-ho explained calmly. When an entire species learns to think together, consciousness can affect reality on a cosmic scale. The stars were indeed moving, forming patterns and shapes across the sky. Whole constellations shifted into new configurations, creating a message written in stellar formations that could be read from anywhere in the galaxy. Welcome, we come in peace. Do not be afraid. You are moving actual stars, Taehyun said, his voice filled with awe and terror. Just locally, Minji replied, and only temporarily. The stars will return to their original positions once the demonstration is complete. We want to show the galaxy that human space operates by different rules, but we do not want to damage anything permanently. The approaching fleets, Wanbin asked, what will happen to them? They will be welcomed, Kyung-ho said with a smile, gently turned around, given a safe escort back to the boundary, and invited to send diplomatic representatives instead of warships. No one will be harmed, but everyone will understand that conventional military force has no meaning here. And then, Taehyun asked. Then, Minji said, we begin the real first contact process. The galaxy will learn that consciousness is not separate from the universe, but part of it. And perhaps someday, other species will develop their own relationships with reality itself. Starting with you, Kyung-ho added, looking directly at Taehyun. Would you like to be the first non-human to experience consciousness-assisted space travel? The massive galactic fleet hung at the edge of human space like a storm cloud of metal and energy. Admiral Sujin commanded the largest military force ever assembled, with ships from 17 different species forming battle formations that stretched across light years. The combined firepower could destroy entire star systems, yet every sensor reading showed nothing but empty space ahead. Status report, Admiral Sujin demanded from the bridge of her flagship, the massive Corvani dreadnought Inevitable Victory. All. Fleets report ready, Admiral, replied her tactical officer. 6,000 ships in total, representing the combined military might of the Galactic Council. Weapons charged, shields at maximum, jump drives prepared for immediate assault. Admiral Sujin studied the tactical display with all four of her eyes. According to their instruments, human space appeared completely defenseless. No patrol ships, no weapons platforms, no defensive installations of any kind. It seemed impossible that such a primitive species could threaten galactic civilization. "Admiral," called out her sensor operator, "I am detecting something unusual. The star patterns ahead are changing." "Changing how?" Admiral Sujin asked. "Sharply. The stars are moving, Admiral. Actual stellar movement, not just sensor errors. They appear to be rearranging themselves into geometric patterns." Every officer on the bridge stared at the main view screen in stunned silence. The ancient stars that had shone in fixed positions for millions of years were indeed moving, sliding across the cosmos like pieces on a game board. Within minutes, they had formed letters that spelled out a message visible across hundreds of light years. "Welcome, we come in peace, do not be afraid." "That is impossible," whispered the Vraxian fleet commander Jiho from his ship. "No technology in the galaxy can move stars. Even the ancient precursor races could not manipulate matter on such a scale. Unless," said Minho from his small Etherian vessel, "they are not using technology at all." Aboard the Corvani flagship, the sensor operator was frantically checking his instruments. "Admiral, I am detecting massive space-time distortions throughout the region, but the pattern is unlike anything in our databases. It is almost as if space itself is alive and responding to some external intelligence. All ships, prepare for immediate attack," Admiral Sujin ordered. "Whatever the humans are doing, we cannot allow them to complete it." The galactic fleet surged forward. 6,000 warships crossing into human space with weapons firing. Energy beams, quantum torpedoes, and gravity bombs filled the void as the combined forces of galactic civilization unleashed their fury against the mysterious human territory. And then something wonderful and terrible happened. The weapons simply stopped working. Not destroyed, not deflected, just stopped. Energy beams faded into harmless light shows. Torpedoes became gentle fireworks that painted beautiful patterns across space. Gravity bombs turned into sources of warm, comforting radiation that made the crews feel peaceful and relaxed. "Report!" Admiral Sujin shouted, but her tactical officer could only stare at his instruments in confusion. "All weapons have ceased functioning, Admiral. Not damaged, not disabled. They simply refuse to operate as weapons within this space. Our targeting systems are suggesting alternative uses for our military equipment." "Alternative uses?" "Our main cannon is now broadcasting poetry in 17 different languages. Our torpedo tubes are producing flowers. Our gravity bombs appear to be generating small suns that spell out welcome messages." Throughout the fleet, similar reports came from every ship. The massive military force that had entered human space with the intention of destroying humanity found their weapons transformed into instruments of art, beauty, and communication. "This is impossible," Jiho transmitted from his Vraxian dreadnought. "Our weapons are designed to function in any environment. Nothing can simply turn them off." "Nothing technological," Minho replied thoughtfully. "But what if the humans have developed something beyond technology?" Their question was answered when space itself began to speak. The voice came from everywhere at once, not through communication systems, but directly through the quantum fields that connected all matter in the universe. It was gentle, welcoming, and unmistakably human. "Greetings, visitors from the galactic community. This is President Che-Yung of the Terran Assembly. We welcome you to human space and apologize for the confusion our isolation has caused." "Where are you?" Admiral Sujin demanded, scanning empty space around her fleet. Show yourselves! We are everywhere, President Chae-young's voice replied. Human consciousness has become entangled with the quantum structure of local space-time. Within this region, we exist as much in the fabric of reality as we do in physical bodies. To demonstrate, space around the galactic fleet began to shimmer and shift. The emptiness between stars filled with translucent images of human cities, gardens, and peaceful communities. Children played in parks that existed in 7 dimensions. Adults worked on projects that bent the laws of physics like clay. Impossible, Admiral Sujin repeated, but her voice had lost its commanding edge and taken on a tone of wonder. We understand your skepticism, President Chae-young continued. 2 centuries ago, we would have said the same thing. But consciousness is not separate from the universe. It is part of it. We simply learned to embrace that connection. Wanbin watched from the bridge of the Concordia as the massive galactic fleet found itself gently but irresistibly turned around. The ships were not damaged or captured. They were simply encouraged by space itself to return to the boundary of human space. What is happening to them? He asked Minji, who had remained on the alien ship to observe the demonstration. They are being politely asked to leave, Minji replied. Human space does not recognize hostile intent as a valid form of interaction. The local space-time structure treats weapons and warships the way a peaceful garden treats weeds. It encourages them to transform into something more beneficial. And if they refuse to leave, they cannot refuse, Kyung-ho explained. Free will operates differently here. Within human space, beings can choose to be creative, helpful, or peaceful, but choices that would cause harm to others are simply not available options. Admiral Sujin found her fleet being escorted back across the boundary by gentle currents in space itself. Her ships moved not under their own power, but carried by the universe like leaves on a stream. No matter how hard her engines pushed, no matter which direction she tried to steer, space itself guided her fleet away from human space. This is not over, she transmitted back toward the human territory. We hope it is. President Chae-young's voice replied sadly. We have no desire for conflict with galactic civilization. We isolated ourselves not to prepare for war, but to protect everyone until we could share this knowledge safely. What knowledge? Admiral Sujin asked, despite herself. That consciousness and cosmos are one unified system. That reality responds to intelligence when the relationship is based on cooperation rather than domination. That the universe is not empty space filled with separate objects, but a living system of which all conscious beings are part. As the galactic fleet found itself safely returned to normal space outside human space, Admiral Sujin stared back at the region they had just left. The stars had returned to their original positions, and space looked perfectly normal again. What do we do now? Asked her tactical officer. Admiral Sujin was quiet for a long moment, processing what they had just experienced. Finally, she opened a communication channel to all ships in the fleet. All vessels stand down from combat status. We are returning to Council space to report our findings. And someone find me every xenobiologist, consciousness researcher, and quantum physicist in the galaxy. I think we need to learn some new science. Behind them, human space waited peacefully for the galaxy to be ready for the next phase of contact. The demonstration was complete. Now the real education could begin. 1 year had passed since the Great Demonstration, as historians were already calling it. The galaxy had been forever changed by the revelation that consciousness could directly interact with the fundamental structure of reality. Some species embraced this knowledge eagerly, while others retreated in fear or confusion. The first contact station hung in space exactly at the 50-light-year boundary of human space, a marvel of cooperative engineering that combined human consciousness-assisted construction with traditional galactic technology. Half of the station existed in normal space-time, allowing non-human visitors to feel comfortable, while the other half demonstrated the fluid reality that humans had learned to inhabit. Tae-hyun stood in the observation lounge, watching ships from dozens of different species arriving and departing. As humanity's first official ambassador to galactic civilization, he had spent the past year helping to bridge the gap between two completely different ways of understanding existence. "The morning reports, Ambassador," said Nari, who had requested permanent assignment to the station after becoming the first non-human to successfully achieve limited consciousness reality interaction. Her tentacles moved gracefully as she organized the daily briefings on her communication equipment. "How many species today?" Tae-hyun asked, accepting the data pad she offered. 17 delegations scheduled, including 3 first-time visitors. The Zephyrian Collective finally agreed to send representatives, though they are still nervous about the whole concept of thought-responsive space. Through the observation window, Tae-hyun could see the peaceful coexistence that had developed. At the station, human children played in gravity-defying playgrounds that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, while alien scientists took careful notes on how consciousness could influence physical laws. Artistic collaborations bloomed between species, who had never imagined that different forms of thought could create new types of beauty. "Any problems with the integration protocols?" he asked. "Only minor issues," Nari replied. "Yesterday, a young Corvani engineer accidentally created a small temporal loop when she got excited about her research. Dr. Hanuel helped her resolve it within an hour, and the Vraxian delegation is still struggling with the concept that aggressive thoughts simply do not work here." Tae-hyun smiled. The Vraxians had been among the most resistant to accepting the reality of human space, but even Jiho was beginning to understand that consciousness-assisted reality operated by completely different rules than traditional physics, Tao. The station's research section, Dr. Hanuel was working with a mixed team of human and alien scientists to develop what they called consciousness interface training. The goal was to help other species learn to interact safely with reality-responsive environments without losing their own cultural identities. The key, Dr. Hanuel explained to her current student, a brave young Etherian named Somin, is not to force a connection, but to ask permission. Human space responds to cooperation, not domination. Salmon's glowing form pulsed with concentration as she attempted to influence a simple flower to grow from the metal floor. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then gradually, a small green shoot appeared and began to unfold into a beautiful blossom that seemed to be made of pure light. "I did it!" Salmon exclaimed, her entire being brightening with joy. "Yes, you did," Dr. Hanuel confirmed. "You are the 43rd non-human to successfully achieve basic consciousness reality interaction. Each success proves that this ability is not unique to humans, but represents a natural evolution that any species can develop." In another part of the station, Minji was leading a cultural exchange session between human children and young beings from various alien species. Today's project was collaborative art creation using consciousness-assisted techniques. "Remember," Minji told the mixed group of youngsters, "we are not trying to make the art we want. We are asking the universe what it wants to create through us. The children, human and alien alike, closed their eyes and concentrated together. Slowly, the empty space in the center of the room began to fill with swirling colors and impossible shapes. Music that had no source accompanied visual patterns that existed in dimensions the normal eye could not see. The result was a piece of art that no single species could have imagined, but which felt perfectly natural to the collaborative consciousness of the mixed group. "Beautiful," whispered Kyung-ho, who had been observing from the doorway. "A year ago, we worried that contact with galactic civilization would be dangerous. Instead, it has given us new ways to grow and learn." Back in the observation lounge, Taehyun was reviewing the day's most significant development, a formal request from the Galactic Council for Humanity to establish similar consciousness interface stations throughout the galaxy. "They want us to teach them," he said to Nari, still somewhat amazed by how quickly things had changed. "A year ago they wanted to destroy us. Now they want to learn from us." "Not all of them," Nari cautioned. "Admiral Sujin's reports show that several species have declared human space and all consciousness-assisted phenomena to be dangerous and forbidden. They have established isolation zones around their territories to prevent any contamination by human ideas. And that is their choice," Taehyun replied philosophically. "We cannot force consciousness evolution on anyone. It has to be freely chosen." A new arrival was docking at the station, a small ship with an unusual design that combined elements from multiple galactic cultures. As Taehyun watched, he smiled to see familiar figures disembarking. Admiral Sujin and Minho working together, despite their species' historical conflicts. "Ambassador Taehyun," Admiral Sujin greeted him formally as she entered the lounge. "I bring a proposal from a coalition of progressive species." "What kind of proposal?" Taehyun asked. "A joint research expedition to explore whether consciousness-reality interaction might exist naturally in other parts of the galaxy. We have found ancient texts that suggest some precursor races might have developed similar abilities millions of years ago." Minho's glowing form pulsed with excitement. "Imagine if we could find evidence that consciousness evolution is a natural part of cosmic development. It would change how every species in the galaxy understands their place in the universe." "Interesting," Taehyun mused. "But such an expedition would need to include humans who could recognize and safely interact with consciousness-responsive environments. We were hoping you would agree to lead it," Admiral Sujin said. "Your experience with both human and galactic cultures makes you uniquely qualified." Before Taehyun could respond, a commotion in the children's area drew their attention. A young human girl named Ji-won was casually creating small stars to light her homework, while her study partner, a young Corvani named Do-yun, watched in fascination and tried to copy the technique. "Do you see that?" Admiral Sujin asked quietly. "A year ago I would have called it impossible. Now my own people are learning to do the same thing." "The children adapt fastest," Nari observed. "To them, consciousness-assisted reality is simply how the universe works. They do not have to unlearn old assumptions." Taehyun watched the two youngsters working together, human and alien minds collaborating to bend reality in ways that created beauty rather than destruction. In their innocent cooperation, he saw the future of galactic civilization, not a collection of separate species competing for resources, but a unified consciousness exploring the infinite possibilities of existence itself. "I accept the mission," he told Admiral Sujin, "but with one condition." "What condition?" "We bring some of the children. They may see things that our adult minds would miss." Admiral Sujin looked at the young beings creating impossible art with their thoughts and nodded slowly. Agreed. Perhaps it is time for the old generation to learn from the new one. As the station continued its peaceful work of bringing human and galactic consciousness together, space itself seemed to shimmer with approval. The universe had been waiting a long time for its children to remember that they were all part of the same infinite, intelligent, ever-evolving cosmic dream. And now, finally, they were ready to wake up and dream together.